Yo, what's going on, guys? Koi here. Today we're going to be talking about how do you get the craziest stats in Anime Run Kingdom. Now, the deal is, right, is that there's a few ways that you can get incredibly high stats, and we're going to be talking about them today. So, with that being the case, I think we should get started with how I'm going to categorize this. First things first, we're going to be talking about equipments, how they're obtained and stuff like that. Then we're going to kind of talk about a little bit about traits and how that could really change the dynamic of your whole team. And then after that, pretty much move on to other small tidbits that I could think of at the end. Mostly like drawn out like parts of the game that I kind of think that should be brought up as small indents. So let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, if you don't know how stats work in Anime Kingdom, in Anime Run Kingdom Run, sorry, I don't. it's yeah, the name. I swear, I'm just gonna call it Anime Run because that just feels more to me. Just feels right. Now, whenever you do look at the stats, first thing you should totally look at is the character and the way that they're designed. Some characters are designed in some ways compared to others, and some are designed drastically better than others in some categories. So, for instance, if we're going to be talking about Byakuya, Byakuya is very, very good in the attack category. He does pretty much chop them down percentile damage with his bleed ability. Now, the difference between him and someone like Frieza is Frieza's a mage type who wants to focus on full-on damage. So with that being the case, you want to focus on full-on damage with this guy more than anything. And the reason why there's a difference is mostly because of their kits and the way that they're designed. Now, you'd be surprised. You would think that, you know, a ranger type character would be the exact same as a magic type character. The only difference is ranger types get more benefits from base damage and other stuff like that based off their gear. So if we actually take a look at the actual kit made for the ranger type thing, as you can see, Quincy Garb is pretty much the meta for all ranger types as of this moment, which gives you that 15% damage increase, and on every third hit of damage deals double damage, which is pretty insane. We'll talk more about stats right now as I get into this. But, you know, with this being the case, you do want to focus on the characters. Like, for some reason, you would not build damage on Broly. The reason you would not build damage on Broly is because this guy does not benefit from this. Yes, he has a very cool move that does full AoE, but his stat already starts off so low, you're not going to get a lot out of him. Whenever it comes down to someone like Frieza, whose stat already scales incredibly high for damage in general, almost 2 times higher than Broly's. So you'd get more benefits from focusing on a full damage kit for this guy compared to someone like Broly. There are some like outliers, like I would say like bomber units. Bomber units are pretty interesting. The way these guys kind of work is kind of weird. I don't understand them myself, but the way that the bomber kit is supposed to work is it's supposed to be like a backup damage dealer. But increase skill cooldown by 30% exchange for 50% more damage. They're supposed to be your nuke type. Now, for some of these bomber units, the design of the bomber unit doesn't make much sense to me because they kind of hold the same spot as a mage. So building them as a mage benefits you more than building them as a bomber unit, because there are some mage type units that actually do incredibly good nuclear damage, like Frieza, who's literally just a better version of a bomber unit across the board, at least design wise. His whole beam, even at base, before actually getting full power Frieza, will allow you to do a crap ton more damage, especially once you evolve him and do Supernova. He's just going to do way more in the regards of the way that he's designed compared to a bomber unit. Now, I don't think I have to really dip into assassin units. I think that they kind of fall into their own category of more CC based attacks. Like they have more like what do you call it? They have build up deals. Like they have like stacks that they want to put out. They want certain damage outputs they want to pull out. They have certain types of abilities, such as CC abilities, like this one's got Electrify. So with that being the case, you do want to pay attention to those things. They are very useful on your team. It really just depends on if you have a very good one or if you have an okay one at best. Now, let's go ahead and talk about gear. Now, gear is very, very important to actually make sure that your characters stay alive, for one, and two, do the most damage as possible. If you look at my Broly, he has a massive boost in HP and a massive boost in defense. Now, it's not as broken as it was before because they did nerf it just a little bit. So as you can see, HP only goes up to 10 every 5 levels, so it's 2% HP for every level. But they also nerfed defense to also meet that requirement. So where it used to be that 10% that 15%. Now it's actually 10% because now it's went from 3% to 2%. Now this honestly was way worse before because the same day they made a major change to bring it back up because it was at 1.5 before, but then they upgraded it back to 2%. So whenever you build someone who is a tank on your team, especially someone like Broly or even someone like Zura over here, you're going to want to build full defense because most of these characters benefit from a full defense kit in order for them to keep the front line alive, especially against a lot of bosses that do a lot of frontline damage. Now, the only thing I would say is that yes, focusing on damage is very, very important, especially for like a lot of your damage dealers. But focusing on defense is also just as important for some of your damage dealers, especially if you don't have a support unit. Now, there are support trinkets in the game that will keep your team alive, such as the shield trinket and stuff like that. But if this is not high level or anything like that, you're probably going to get beamed down pretty hard in the back line across the board. There are some characters that do this, but it just depends on what do you build on your team. Do you want to build more supports? Do you want to build more of this? And for that, you kind of want to focus on keeping your team alive at least a little bit with like a little bit of defense and stuff like that. Like I would put some like percentile defense on Frieza, maybe in a little bit if I can't find any more attack pieces. But focusing on attack is pretty huge too. You want to make sure you have like a lot of attack. Now, gear pieces can be completely randomized. So what we're going to talk about next is a god piece. Now, what is a god piece? A god piece is a piece of gear that actually gives you 2 of the stats that you actually want. Now, there are some stats that are very beneficial compared to other stats, but it just depends on the way that you look at it. For instance, Broly's HP piece right here is considered a god piece because it has 2 percentile stats with mythical, obviously a mythical piece of armor. Now, I would honestly take this to max just because this is HP, and HP is very good for survivability. Yes, it's not very good for their defense. Yes, you could stack defense even higher, but since I have this is going to benefit me further into the long run the more I upgrade it, as you can see. And now I'm going to have an extra 20% on my Broly as I level him up, as you can see. So with that being the case, focusing on a piece like this, taking it all the way to level 20, is going to be super useful for keeping my Broly alive across the board. And that's going to give me 40 across the board, which is very, very important. 80% HP increase is insane. So with that being the case, there are some other ways you could consider something a god piece. And this is more like if you want to focus more on base stat too, because there are some characters that benefit from high defense who already start off with high defense, who start off with high HP, who start off with high attack. And what this does is god pieces for this would also be increasing base stats as well. For instance, I think I have a base stat right here. Now, this is not considered a god piece because this is normal, but let's say that this cape was a mythical trinket. I would consider it a god piece because I would be able to take this 10% to 40% and this defense up times 4, which would increase his defense dramatically, also benefiting from the defense traits that he already has. Now, this is just the way that you want to look at your equipment, how you want to build your characters, and now we're going to talk about farming equipment, and then no, let's talk about traits first. I want to talk about traits first because there are some traits that are incredibly important for building on your team compared to other traits. For instance, as you can see, I have Armament Hockey V2 on Broly, which already gives him a 30% defense buff and a 10% HP buff, which is pretty huge. For damage-wise, I think I have a really good damage one for one of my characters. I think it was Vegeta. Yeah, Iron Fist. There are lots of traits that will give you these benefits. And it's very important that you farm those trait tickets whenever it's available. There's a thing in the Discord where you can get a ping anytime that trait tickets are available on the challenge, and you could come in and do your trait ticket stuff. Now, the one thing I would say is that some of these actually change the entire dynamic of your entire team. For instance, whenever you actually look at some things like, I think, what's a very important one? Oh yeah, the critical hit one. There's a critical hit one that you could get. I think it's Critical Demon. Yeah. So building crit is not very important whenever it comes down to building crit on equipment. You kind of want to build more attack and more defense. And with that being the case, building that and then getting something like this is more beneficial than anything because there's a much better version of the crit build. I think it's somewhere around here somewhere. So is it supporter, explosive, chaotic? No, there's a crit. There's another crit one. I know there is. Unless they nerfed crit demon, but as you can see, like something like that, getting crit chance, you could switch up to an entire crit build, but that really just depends on you. Like for instance, the benefits of building a crit damage build actually is pretty high, because you could do that with your character as well. For instance, I already get a little bit of crit with my Frieza, but his crit damage is going to stay at 50, which means he's only going to do 50% more damage with crit. So it's a win-lose scenario if depending on the way that you build it. Now, one thing I would like to bring up is the fact that support units don't benefit from any stats except for defense and HP. So for instance, if we're talking about someone like Orihime, you're not going to make her heal more by getting stuff like the crit. And then you could possibly get the gear that gives you, healing increase. I think it's called healing bonus stat. So you could get something like a healing bonus stat, which is very, very cool, and get flat HP on someone like Orihime, as you can see. Boom. And this would be very, very good for someone like Orihime, because say you level this up, right? You're going to get more HP out there, more healing bonuses out there across the board by 20%. And if you do that, like across the board, or get even multiples of it, you can make her heal quite a bit more than she already does. And that's already hard enough because some of the skills, we'll talk about skills right now too. Some of the skills require you to level up skills quite a bit in order for them to be very useful. As you can see, you're only going to get like one healing for every single time you upgrade it. But with this being the case, it's going to cost you a lot of these stuff and a lot of money. So it's better to focus on building equipment gear than anything, and making sure you have the appropriate treasures that build up your whole team. For instance, Frankie Cola is just amazing. You actually get a team refresh of over 47% of your skill cooldown. For instance, Energy Shield will give you a buffer for taking damage, and then healing will actually just keep you alive much, much more longer. As you can see, that's going to heal your lowest character. So as you can see, that's pretty much has to do with most of the stats in the game. Now let's talk about getting this equipment. What's the best way to farm equipment? And the best way to actually farm equipment is by one, first timing every single story. But two, and the most important way that I have found is that, doing infinite mode. Now, if you spam infinite mode, you're going to get a 4% chance at equipment, but it's a 4% chance every single, stage. So you're going to hit that 4% chance, walk away with about 5 equipment for every 20 runs that you do. 20 waves that you do. You might walk away with, 5 pieces of equipment right there. And especially in 2 times a weekend, you can walk away with way more. And if you want different equipment from different stages, there are only 3 stages you really need to worry about. And that's going to be Shinobi Scrolls for this one, and then jumping straight to Annie's Lobby, because I would do this one for the Giga Boxes because they don't have pirate-related gear yet. And you can also get the best leveling stuff in the game, where you get tons of leveling equipment. And this is super, super beneficial to maxing out every character in the game incredibly quickly. I mean, these stars stack up so incredibly fast, it's insane. You get so much benefit from just doing the infinite mode there. But let's say you need Dragon Ball Z equipment to finish a certain set. Like, I want Dragon Ball Z equipment specifically for my Broly. Then, that's why I'm building, the weighted turban set. Because this set's going to give me increased HP. It's going to give me a little bit of HP restored every 3 hits. Is that important? I don't think it is, because honestly, these stats outweigh the means. So, for instance, I would keep this 20% set and then max it out. But I would also, keep a piece from another set, such as these Saiyan gloves, because these Saiyan gloves give me max flat defense across the board, and maxing out this is going to be very beneficial to me because that's just more defense across the board for my character. As you can see right there, boom, that's fat amounts of defense. And then all I have to do is just get another piece that has let's say defense percentage, and for instance, I would need double defense percentage to outweigh the means. So right there, defense percentage, substat. As you can see, it's level 7. Upgrade this a little bit. Look at my defense just skyrocket. Yep. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell down below. If you guys want to see more, if you got any questions, let me know down below. I'll see you guys later. Take it easy and peace out.